Graveyard shift rats, the queen rat. Under the Bachmann textile mill lies an interconnected network of tunnels, burrows, and caverns filled with rats that have evolved far beyond normal rodents. Generations of exposure to toxic waste, machinery oil, stagnant water, and human remains have produced a variety of mutations. Some rats grow to the size of dogs. Others lose their eyes and become pale, using sound and scent to navigate. A few develop wings or elongated limbs. These variations make the colony incredibly adaptive. At the center of the nest is the queen rat, a massive albino creature with slick white skin, immense strength, and a disturbing intelligence. She communicates with her brood through shrieks and vibrations, directing them like an army. Her lair is filled with decades of bones and discarded remains, forming a throne of decay created through generations of neglect. This creature represents everything the mill workers and owners ignored for years. The queen's existence is a physical manifestation of rot, secrecy, and the dangers hidden beneath industries that exploit both people and the environment. She's basically the CEO of creepiness, and her corporate perks include decades of human leftovers. The Outsider. The Outsider is a parasitic being tied to myths from around the world under names like El Cuco, the Grief Eater, and the Man Who Wears Faces. Also the kind of guy you definitely don't want at parties. It survives by copying the DNA and memories of people who are vulnerable due to trauma, illness, or direct contact with death. A single scratch or exchange of fluids begins the process of transformation. Over time, it becomes an exact duplicate of its target, able to speak like them, move like them, and even think like them. The Outsider feeds on emotional devastation rather than blood. It commits horrifying crimes while wearing the face of an innocent person. The public outrage, the grief of loved ones, and the collapse of the accused person's life all create the psychic energy the creature feeds on. Basically, it's the worst identity thief imaginable. After consuming enough emotional intensity, it retreats to a hidden location to regenerate. These hiding places are usually sites tied to previous tragedies, such as abandoned buildings, old mines, and remote caves. The Outsider often manipulates damaged individuals into helping it, using dreams, hallucinations, or promises of relief to control them. In the broader world of King's fiction, the Outsider is hinted to be one creature from an entire species that drifts between societies, feeding on sorrow wherever it goes. This monster blends supernatural horror with real human tragedy, because it destroys lives long before it ever kills. It's like that friend who ruins your life in the most passive-aggressive way possible. Barlow and the Vampires, Salem's Lot. Kurt Barlow is a master vampire of the oldest known variety, a lineage that predates most recorded history. His origins are not fully revealed, which only increases the sense of ancient menace surrounding him. Think Dracula, but with better posture and zero social skills. He travels with his human servant Richard Straker, who prepares settlements for Barlow's arrival by removing obstacles and arranging conditions for a takeover. Once Barlow reaches Jerusalem's Lot, he begins infecting the townspeople with precision. He chooses early victims carefully, selecting isolated residents, children, and people who can be quietly replaced. This creates a rapid, exponential spread of vampirism throughout the town. The undead inhabitants do not simply attack at random. They follow Barlow's instructions, hide themselves strategically, and use psychological influence to lure relatives and friends into traps. Barlow himself is intelligent, calm, and manipulative. He uses hypnotic powers, ancient knowledge, and brute strength to dominate both minds and bodies. King uses Barlow's invasion to expose the hidden corruption of small-town America, suggesting that darkness does not need to invade from outside, because it already exists beneath the surface. The destruction of the Lot does not stop the plague. Survivors eventually learn that the infection spreads to other towns, implying that Barlow's death only delayed a much larger catastrophe. Basically, the ultimate "don't open the door to strangers" cautionary tale. Dreamcatcher parasites, shit weasels. These creatures originate from the alien organism known as the virus, which spreads through microscopic spores that infect humans. The infection begins with flu-like symptoms, followed by drastic changes in appetite, personality, and perception. The virus also causes telepathic bleed-through, allowing infected people to receive fragments of alien thoughts, images, and emotions. Nothing like a little mind-reading flu to ruin your week. Inside the host's body, the fungus constructs a parasitic organism, resembling a long eel or snake with powerful jaws. Once fully grown, the creature forces its way out through the intestines in a violent and fatal emergence. The newborn parasite is capable of rapid movement, hunting behavior, and quick adaptation. They are not mindless. They cooperate through pheromones and instinctive communication, making them extremely dangerous despite their size. The infection is guided by a larger alien intelligence known as Mr. Grey, who can hijack an infected person's mind and use their memories to navigate Earth. The military response in the story suggests that aliens have attempted contact or invasion before, making this outbreak part of a long history of extraterrestrial threats. The parasites are both physical monsters and symbols of uncontrollable biological invasion, turning the human body into a battleground. In other words, next time your stomach makes weird noises, just shrug and hope it's not a crap weasel. The Mangler. The Mangler is a massive industrial laundry press that becomes possessed after a combination of ingredients accidentally completes a dark summoning ritual. Human blood, a bottle of belladonna, ice contaminated by a supernatural freezer, and a concentration of pain and fear opened a pathway for a demon to enter the machine. From that moment, the Mangler began drawing power from the suffering of workers who operated it. The machine crushes, folds, and mutilates people with increasing frequency, and each death strengthens the entity inside it. Over time, the Mangler begins to act with intention. Tools shift on their own, shadows move unnaturally, and the machine develops enough strength to tear free from its foundations. In King's broader themes, objects often become possessed due to emotional residue or occult accidents, but the Mangler is one of the clearest examples of a machine becoming truly malevolent. The story reflects the dangers of unsafe workplaces and industrial exploitation, turning a simple laundry press into a symbol of how laborers are consumed by the machines they depend on. Yes, it's proof that your washing machine might secretly hate you. The Man in Black, Walter Odim. Walter Odim is one of the central villains across King's multiverse, appearing under names such as Randall Flagg, Martin Broadcloak, and the Walk-In Dude. He appears at moments in history when societies are collapsing, and he takes pleasure in accelerating that fall. He manipulates people with charm, illusion, and psychological insight, transforming ordinary citizens into violent followers. Basically, the ultimate chaotic event planner. Walter can summon demons, create storms, control shadows, and alter his appearance. He also possesses prophetic abilities that allow him to predict events and steer fate. In The Stand, he is responsible for the chaos that follows the release of a deadly bioweapon. In The Dark Tower, he sabotages the gunslinger Roland's childhood and influences generations of events to guide Roland toward a destiny filled with suffering. Walter serves the Crimson King, a being who seeks to destroy the Dark Tower and unravel all universes. Walter himself often treats the collapse of worlds as entertainment, drifting from place to place to sow chaos and misery. His presence ties together many of King's stories, making him more than a villain. He is the representation of entropy itself. Imagine your worst day ever multiplied by several apocalyptic timelines. The Raft Blob, Creepshow 2. The raft creature appears to be a floating slick of black, shimmering ooze with iridescent colors flickering beneath the surface. It drifts quietly in the middle of a lake, pretending to be harmless debris. In reality, it is an ambush predator that reacts instantly to movement, sound, or heat. Its surface contains a powerful corrosive substance that dissolves skin, muscle, and bone within seconds. Once it attaches to a victim, it uses suction like a living vacuum to pull them beneath its surface, where digestion occurs. The creature shows signs of intelligence, adjusting its approach based on the behavior of its prey. It spreads itself thin to mimic the reflections on the water, creating illusions that make the lake appear safe. Some theories suggest it is an extraterrestrial organism that fell from space. Others claim it could be a mutated form of algae or industrial waste that evolved into something predatory. King never confirms its origin, which makes the creature even more disturbing. It is simply a natural horror that does not negotiate, does not communicate, and does not stop. Basically, the lake equivalent of that friend who insists on giving unsolicited life advice. But way deadlier. Pennywise the dancing clown. It. Pennywise is not a clown, and not even a being that can be fully understood in human terms. Its real identity is a cosmic predator known as It, a creature older than human history that exists mostly in a dimension of insanity called the Deadlights. Also, it probably doesn't appreciate balloon animals. The clown body is only a disguise that protects the minds of those who see it, because the real form cannot be processed without losing all sense of reality. It arrived on Earth millions of years ago, when an otherworldly object crashed into what would eventually become Derry, Maine. Once humans settled there, It shaped the town into a feeding ground, influencing tragedies, disappearances, and violent incidents to keep fear constantly circulating. Pennywise awakens every 27 to 30 years to feed, choosing children because their emotions and imaginations create stronger psychic nourishment. Apparently, kids' nightmares are gourmet cuisine. It does not simply shapeshift in a physical sense. It manipulates perception, creating illusions that become real enough to injure or kill. Pennywise also controls the psychology of the entire town, causing adults to forget horrors, ignore danger, and allow evil to flourish. Basically, it's like having a creepy life coach who only gives terrible advice. Derry's darkest moments, including fires, massacres, and unexplained accidents, were all nudged along by it. In the larger mythology, it is the ancient enemy of Maturin the Turtle, a cosmic guardian associated with order. Even after its apparent death, its essence remains too vast for complete destruction. Pennywise is terrifying not only because it steals children, but because it corrupts an entire town named Derry from the inside out. And yes, it also gives clowns everywhere a bad reputation. And if Pennywise is the one that stuck with you, there's a whole video waiting that breaks down every shape it ever used. Hit that next video and see every form Pennywise takes, one nightmare at a time. See you in Derry.